Hi, I'm Nanette Macy-Jones, the director at the Columbus Museum of Art, and I am standing in the exhibition Art After Stonewall. It's a wonderful exhibition that you're all going to enjoy after we can all come out into the world again, but it's closed right now, so I want you to stay home and stay safe. We have a very special treat for you today. We have prevailed on a dear friend of the museum, Stephen Anderson, who's the producing director at CATCO, to do a reading for us from Armistead Maupin's Tales of the City. Stephen and I, plenty of social distancing, you can see Stephen there, and we are standing in front of the painting that he has chosen to read in front of. This is an extraordinary David Hockney painting from 1979 entitled Divine, and we're very grateful that the Carnegie Museum of Art in Pittsburgh lent it to us. So without further ado, Stephen.
This chapter is called The Landlady's Dinner, and it features Mrs. Madrigal, a transgendered owner of an apartment building, and Marianne, who's new from the Midwest and has just moved to San Francisco and decided to settle there, even though she finds it a little odd. Mrs. Madrigal has asked her to come to dinner. Mrs. Madrigal looked almost elegant in black satin pajamas and a matching cloche. "Ah, Marianne, I'm grinding the gazpacho. Help yourself to the hors d'oeuvres. I'll be right back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail." The hors d'oeuvres were arranged symmetrically on 2 plates. One held several dozen stuffed mushrooms, the other a half a dozen joints. Marianne chose a mushroom and gave the apartment a once-over. 2 rather gross marble statues flanked the fireplace, a boy with a thorn in his foot and a woman holding a jug. Silk fringes dangled everywhere, from lampshades, coverlets, curtains, and valances, even from the archway that led to the hall. The only photograph was a picture of the 1915 Panama Pacific Exposition. "Well, what do you think of my bordella?" Mrs. Madrigal was posing dramatically under the archway. "It's very nice." "Don't be ridiculous. It's depraved." Marianne laughed. "You planned it that way?" "Of course. Help yourself to a joint, dear, and don't bother to pass it around. I loathe that soggy communal business. I mean, if you're going to be a degenerate, you might as well be a lady about it, don't you think?" After dinner, on the way to the bathroom, Marianne lingered in the landlady's bedroom. There was a photograph on the dresser in a silver frame. A young man, a soldier, standing inside a 1940s car. He was quite handsome, if a little awkward in his uniform. "So you see, the old dame does have a past." Mrs. Madrigal was standing in the doorway. "Oh, I'm prying, aren't I?" Mrs. Madrigal smiled. "I hope it means we're friends." Marianne turned back to the photograph, embarrassed. "He's very good looking. Is that Mr. Madrigal?" The landlady shook her head. "There's never been a Mr. Madrigal." "I see. No, you don't. How could you? Madrigal is an assumed name, as they say in the gangster movies. I cleaned up my act about a dozen years back, and the old name was the first to go." "What was it?" "Don't be naughty. If I'd wanted you to know, I wouldn't have changed it." "But why the Mrs.?" "Yes. Widows and divorcees don't get, what's the word, hassled. We don't get hassled as much as single girls. You must have figured that out by now." "Who's hassled? I haven't had so much as an obscene phone call since I moved to San Francisco. I could use a little hassling, frankly. The town is full of charming young men." "To each other?" Mrs. Madrigal chuckled. "There's a lot of that going around. You make it sound like the flu. I think it's terribly depressing." "Nonsense. Take it as a challenge. When a woman triumphs in this town, she really triumphs. You'll do all right, dear. Give it time." "You think?" "I know." The landlady winked and put her arm across Marianne's shoulders. "Come on, let's go find those tedious people."